Hello, friends, family, fellow caregivers, and all of my followers. My name is V, and this is my second video. I am a caregiver. Um, I have been taking care of family since 2014. I took care of my mom from 2014 to 2021. And I am now taking care of my daughter, Carmen, since 2023 when she was found unconscious by her 3-year-old. I'm going to go back. In 2021, I was living in Charlotte with my mom, and um, we were getting at the end of where I was able to just do everything on my own. I did have a hospice team that helped me navigate everything, but it was still kind of isolated, and I felt I need more help. So I had a conversation with Carmen, my daughter, who I'm caring for now, and she basically welcomed me to join her family in Hawaii, and she would help me take care of mom, her grandmother. So after mom turned 95 in May, uh, we left Charlotte and went to Honolulu to join Carmen and family in paradise on earth. So, you know, once I got there, I looked for her doctors and hospitals, where I would have to take her, whenever she needed to go, for treatment. So I found a 5-star doctor and a 5-star hospital, and I started working with them, getting her primary doctor and everything. The 5-star doctor, I wasn't able to get him because her Humana wouldn't cover him, and so I definitely kept the 5-star hospital and start just navigating, her care from there. So not too long after we arrived in Honolulu, mom passed away. God had already told me that he was giving her 95 years. He didn't give me a specific date or anything like that, but, he took her in the first quarter of after her birthday, which would have actually been the third quarter of the year. But anyway, she lived a life well lived, and she got to enjoy the latter years of her life because I made sure that we were together for 7 years before she passed away, and we were on many adventures up and down the East Coast. From family members' house to whatever adventure we thought we wanted to go on. So when we arrived in Hawaii, uh, we just started living. We were like 2 blocks from the beach, so that was very convenient, to be able to access and get things done. Mom went on a couple of tours. One of was at the rum factory, and she got to see sugar cane, which she hadn't seen for a couple of years. So I think that was pretty interesting. But when mom passed away, I flew her back to her native Georgia, and to be laid to rest next to my dad. And I flew back to Hawaii to join Carmen and family. And, it was kind of like an empty spot in my heart. And it just felt like, what am I going to do with myself? I don't have anyone to take care of. Although I had, my grandchildren with Carmen, we spent some time, going to the beach and, things that grandparents do with their grandkids. And so that filled a big void. But fast forward to May of 2023. The day before Carmen's being found unresponsive, she went on the other side of the island to get her hair done. And I talked to her later. She was saying that she kept blacking out and wasn't really sure what was going on. But so when I got home, she was, doing her usual, preparing meals for the family and, scurrying around the kitchen doing what she uh, enjoyed doing. And I told her, it's like, would you like to go? I can go with you to the ER. Let's get this done. So she said, no, I'm not having any problems since then. I'm fine. No more, dizziness or blackouts or anything like that. I said, okay, well, at least contact your doctor to let her know, what happened, and so she can get you in for testing and so they can pinpoint what's going on. So she said, yeah, I'm going to call her on Monday morning. It was Saturday when we were talking. She said, I'm going to call on Monday morning and get an appointment in. I said, well, don't wait till Monday morning. Do it tomorrow morning so you can be ahead of the list of everybody else that's going to be calling in on Monday morning. She said, okay, I'll do that. Um, so Saturday night is usually movie night. They have this circular sofa in the living room that everybody just, position themselves for movies all night. And, that's what they did that night, Saturday night. And I retired to my room and, went to sleep. And then the next morning I heard a knock at my door. And it was her husband, my son-in-law, basically saying that he couldn't wake her up, saying that the baby had woke him up, and because he was startled, I guess, by something she was doing or something he saw that scared him, and he ran to him. So he tried to wake her up. Husband tried to wake her up and couldn't, and so he knocked on my door. And I came out, and when I came out, he was already on the phone with the paramedics, who was basically giving us orders to pretty much lay her on the floor, take her off the sofa, put her on the floor, and start doing CPR. So I started the first 10 minutes of CPR, and then he took over the next 5 minutes, and then the paramedics showed up to take over. And it seems like it took a long time for them to get a pulse and get a heart rate. It was a scary thing. It was kind of like out of body experience, or just one of those things like, this can't be happening. Carmen is a very vibrant person who pretty much dragged her kids to have fun all the time. They wanted to stay home most of the time. And she was just like, okay, I'm going to get the kids next door. I'm going to get, whatever. So, but she always took them on adventures, as often as possible. And just to see her laying there in that situation, it was not good. So the paramedics, they found a pulse. It seems like maybe after 20 minutes. I'm not really sure. It just seemed like it was a long time. So once they found a pulse, they rushed her to the first hospital, which was one of the local hospitals near us, but they didn't have any rooms available. So after they got her stabilized. They were going to be taking her to another hospital, and I wasn't familiar with what was going on. Just followed everybody that was, from the ambulance, and then with my son-in-law, and we ended up at Tripler Hospital in Honolulu. She never liked Tripler Hospital because she had her 3-year-old there and wasn't really pleased at all with the service. But anyway, so we ended up there, and they started working on her, and it just seemed like a really long time before they were able to get her really stabilized. So, but I stayed there continuously throughout the her stay. Um, I went home to change and went right back. So it was just the start of a journey that we're still into, and she was, recovering at a pace where, at what you would expect of someone with an anoxic brain injury. And she had a couple of seizures and a couple of the complications that went along with the diagnosis. I wasn't really pleased at all with the team we had for at Tripler. They seemed to be training. I know that's what, or practicing, or whatever you want to call it, and I expected more, of course. But so I endured until we finally were shipped out. Took a C-130 to San Diego to lay up in a hospital there because TRICARE West wouldn't let us go anywhere else. We had to go West Coast. So we went to San Diego, and I vetted hospitals up and down the West Coast for unconscious neuro care, which didn't exist. And I found that out about the end of the second month, that it didn't exist. I talked to a for-profit provider that basically said, you're wasting your time. That doesn't exist. Only if you can participate in your rehab, there's accommodation for that on the West Coast, but nothing for unconscious patients that cannot participate in their care. So she said, the closest you're going to find is Craig Hospital right outside of Denver. And, I said, nah, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to any cold weather. We just left Hawaii. So it was funny because I'm back on the East Coast in cold weather. So anyway, let me get back to my story. So we laid in hospitals over there, and pretty much got nothing substantial because, of course, there was no neuro care. But I went to Sacramento and a couple of areas around in there, thinking that there was something kind of suitable, but the bed space wasn't available, and they weren't going to be able to do any neuro care. And so I started advocating for a hospital in Houston, which was always my first pick after we left Tripler. Well, I wanted to leave Tripler to go to Memorial Hermann in Houston. But TRICARE wouldn't let us because we were TRICARE West, and that was TRICARE East, and didn't give us any guidance on how to make that happen. So while we were in San Diego, um, the representative from Memorial Hermann came to the hospital we were at, Kindred Hospital, and interviewed us. And she said, "You guys would be a great candidate for what we're doing at Memorial Hermann, which is unconscious neuro." And it was just like music to my ear to hear that after had her laying in the bed for 3 months in San Diego with minimal care, just basically, laying there, not getting much of anything done, even with the advocacy of trying to get for her. The hospital was in a contract dispute, or something was going on where they had walked the CEO out in handcuffs. So, which seems strange because we were coming in when they were walking him out. And it just looked like this doesn't really look that well. And it wasn't, because I felt we lost a lot of time, which is very important for neuro care. You have a window that they suggest, to get neuro care in an appropriate amount of time in order to prevent more, loss of, neurological functions. So anyway, but we trust God. We know that, he doesn't look at time. Time for us is different from his time. So we once we had the interview and they said that we were, we would be great candidates to come to Memorial Hermann. She flew in a private, I guess I forget the name of the flight. It was one of those supposedly free flights for medical trauma victims or whatever. And I drove from San Diego to Houston, and that was the place to be. That was the place where we got so much. They immediately, addressed her physical ailments, her neurological, all the other contracted muscles and, arms, legs, things like that. They started, working on that. They started doing testing on everything, and brought in a team of rehab specialists that, started a plan for her to start getting some physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and just going in the gym every day to get some momentum on recovery. And it was, it was kind of, for me, it was it was positive. But when you're so close to your loved ones and you're steady looking at them grimace and things like that, it's like, and it did kick me out of the gym a couple of times because I was kind of like, just a little too close to them trying to accomplish anything. But overall, she did very well there until she got her baclofen pump installed, and then that signaled a wound on her coccyx bone. It started out as a 1 and it easily developed into a 4. So that stage 4 coccyx wound pretty much derailed her rehab, and we had to pretty much stop the PTOT and all that, and basically go into the community and start rehabbing from home as much as possible. So we were in Spring, which is right outside of Houston, in the neighborhood, and eventually got back into the PTOT and speech and all the things that she was getting. And then we started experiencing the rough weather in Houston. And that was mind blowing. But that'll be my part 2 of this video. I thank you guys for following my journey. I thank you for being a listening ear. Caregiving is not for the faint at heart. Caregiving is very important, though, especially when you have loved ones who need you to assist in any way you can. So, back in my day, growing up in, the 60s, 70s, we had a village. Everybody kind of, monitored the family, the 11 of us. And it was nothing like it. You kind of needed that. What parents don't need any extra help with 11 kids, but they helped guided us and kept us safe and kept us out of harm's way. But yeah, your family needs you very much so. And you might want to think about it, start earmarking or start having family discussions on caregiving. Who's willing to participate? Who's willing to do their share or whatever they can do? Anything is helpful, even if you can buy a bag of diapers, if you can, you know, send money, if you can, do whatever that loved one needs based on their care plan. Everything is helpful and it takes a village. It really does. So I'll continue part 2 of this journey with Carmen on my next video. Thank you. God bless. And you guys have a good evening.